hadn't planned to go after her at all. It was she who pushed me into raising that knife in front of her. And that moment when she later collapsed to her knees in tears began right here, on this very day. Eileen would never understand that every time she publicly humiliated me, she was digging a hole she herself would one day be unable to climb out of. The moment she stepped into the house that day, I knew she was ready to start something again. That smug curl at the corner of her lips, she thought I was prey that wouldn't bite back. What she didn't know was that I had already decided to make her swallow every thorn she ever threw at me. She stood at the doorway with an overfilled glass of red wine, like a victor. She never expected that one day she would pay for the things that came out of her mouth. Then she lifted her chin and used another public humiliation as her opening move, pouring fire all over me. Where's your husband hiding this time? Did he ditch you again and leave you to handle everything alone? Her voice was anything but soft. When she spoke, the entire dining room went silent for a few seconds. Her eyes always held an expression lighter than contempt, like she couldn't even be bothered to truly look down on me. I put down the half-cut carrot, the back of the knife tapping the counter with a metallic clink. He's upstairs handling some company matters. He'll be down in a moment. My voice stayed steady, unhurried. Eileen clicked her tongue and bumped her glass against the edge of the counter. Handling matters? No wonder you look like a single mom all the time. Can't blame you though. Your husband, well, you know, always only cares about himself. My brother, Mark, stood by the dining room doorway pretending not to hear, staring at the metal frame of the chandelier, but his fingers paused slightly on his phone. He didn't stop her, something I was far too familiar with. I inhaled, pinched the corner of the towel. Eileen, it's Thanksgiving. Can you tone it down? She laughed, the kind where the corners of her lips lift high but her eyes don't move at all. I'm just stating facts. Everyone knows that, don't they? She glanced around. My parents and relatives continued setting the table in silence. No one wanted to get involved. They were used to her tone. I watched her under the kitchen lights. She wore an overly glossy nude lipstick, liked to stand slightly higher so I had to look up at her, liked to point out cracks in my marriage in front of others, as if tearing at them made her feel better about herself. She stepped closer, leaning her glass on the counter. So, are you going to put the kid to bed all by yourself again tonight? Can't Duncan at least pretend to be responsible once? I was about to retort when Duncan walked down the stairs with his laptop. What did you just say? Eileen froze at first, then shifted into a grander smile. Oh, I was just telling your wife that you work so hard. We understand, work is work. Duncan narrowed his eyes. That's not what I heard. Eileen waved. Don't be so sensitive. I'm just joking. You know us, our family always speaks bluntly. Her laughter died quickly, leaving only taut silence. Duncan and I exchanged a look. I knew he didn't want to cause conflict in my parents' home. Our unspoken rule, when things like this happened, I handled it. But in that moment, I could feel him holding back his anger. I took the laptop from his hand and set it aside. Let's eat first. Before leaving, Eileen tossed one more line over her shoulder. Take your time. I'm not cleaning up the mess. The small pre-dinner incident chilled the air. Mark pulled out a chair and sat down, acting like he didn't see that the entire family's atmosphere revolved around his wife's moods. I sat tapping the table lightly as dishes clinked and people attempted small talk. I could feel the tiny cracks growing deeper. Before Eileen came around, I never thought of myself as someone easy to trample. In college, I volunteered at the Student Legal Aid Center. At work, I handled contract negotiations. I was never the type to simply accept things. But people compromise for family, especially when that family includes a husband who needs protecting more than anyone. Duncan's work was demanding, but he was genuinely invested in our home. He'd look up recipes to make me breakfast I liked, and when I worked late, he'd put our daughter to bed. We shared the load, balanced each other. But Eileen never cared to see that. She only saw what she wanted to mock. Her first attack on me happened before the wedding, at a family gathering. Leaning on the kitchen island, she said, "Are you sure he can support a family? With his personality, the moment he's stressed he'll just run." I smiled. You don't need to worry about us. You should worry about Mark. Someone has to keep him from overspending. The word overspending made Mark's expression freeze. Eileen remembered that. She never retaliated in the moment, she liked waiting for a more humiliating setting. After I got married, she escalated. At family dinners she'd ask Duncan questions she knew he couldn't answer. What ointment do you use for the baby's eczema? Do you even know? How long does a baby need to cry at night before you take them to the ER? Do you even know? Then she'd sigh, shake her head, and turn to me. Honestly, you're basically a single mom. I chose to endure. Mostly to avoid conflict in front of my parents. They hated tension. And Eileen's words always hovered in that gray zone between just comments and malicious attacks, making her hard to call out. I once mentioned it to Mark. He only said, her mouth is a little sharp, but she doesn't mean harm. Don't take it personally. He said that one warm summer night in my backyard as I sat on the porch swing, listening to the soft wind. I looked at him and realized, the brother who used to stand up for me when I got bullied had become someone afraid to upset his wife. Eventually I began wondering if my silence made Eileen think I was weak. But pressure accumulates. It never disappears on its own. And that Thanksgiving comment. Did your husband ditch you again? Was the moment something inside me quietly snapped. The real explosion happened 2 days later at lunch. My parents lit the fireplace. Duncan was outside playing in the snow with our daughter. Eileen stood by the table, flipping through my mother's calendar like she was hunting for flaws. Then she said, "Weird. Is Duncan busy with work again? He's so distant with the kid. Aren't you worried?" I put down the utensils, steady. "Eileen, I've told you many times, he's working. And he has never been distant from his daughter." She looked up, her smile sharp like metal. "Oh. Defending him now? Are you his wife or his personal nanny? Honestly, there's a power imbalance between you two. You get what I mean, right?" She paused intentionally so everyone could hear. "To put it nicely, you're his emotional labor. To put it bluntly, you're basically a mix of bed partner and nanny. Hey, all you're missing is a uniform." The air dropped instantly. Mark frowned. "Eileen, don't." She waved him off. "I'm telling the truth. Everyone knows it. Your husband's just like that. What's the point of covering for him?" I pulled out my chair and sat, calm as if handling a workplace dispute. "Then let me state a fact too." For the first time, panic flickered in her eyes. "What fact?" I smoothed the napkin. When I looked up, my voice was still even. "Do you really think your husband's business trips were all real?" She froze. I continued, "Did you know about the one in Chicago 2 years ago? Or Boston last year? Do you know who booked his hotel?" Mark tensed. "Stop." I didn't look at him. "Eileen, your husband has multiple regular partners, not just flings. On that Boston trip, I was in the same hotel. I saw him kissing a woman in the lobby. He told me, keep it secret. She doesn't need to know." Eileen's face drained. You're lying." I leaned back. "If you need proof, I can show you the hotel records. I have no reason to lie. But you should already know your husband's habits. Otherwise, why have you been avoiding the word loyalty for the past 2 years?" Eileen looked around desperately for someone to save her. No one spoke, only the fireplace crackled. I continued, "You can call me a nanny or a tool or whatever you want. But at least my husband respects me. He doesn't fool around behind my back. Before you insulted my marriage, maybe you should have asked about your own." Her lips trembled, the calendar fell from her hand. Her voice cracked, "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" Mark whispered, "Because I asked her not to." Eileen glared at him. "You knew? You knew all along?" Mark's face collapsed. "He's my brother. I thought he'd change. I didn't want a divorce." Eileen shook, shoulders trembling like she was standing in the cold. "So everyone knew, and laughed at me, right? Right? I'm the last one to know." I said quietly, "Your mistake wasn't not knowing. It was turning your own pain into a weapon against others. You aimed at me, but what you were really trying to hide was something you didn't dare face yourself." Eileen broke down, covering her face, sobs fractured. "Enough, please, please stop." That "please" echoed through the silent room, sharp as glass. Her arrogance shattered all at once. I didn't continue. Revenge isn't about destroying someone, it's about stopping the oppression. And this was enough. 3 minutes later, Eileen stumbled out of the dining room. The next morning, they left early. No one said a word. She didn't dare look at me. Duncan stood by the window. "You okay?" I nodded. "I'm good. I haven't felt this good in a long time." Outside, wind rolled the dead leaves across the yard. If someone living in a glass house keeps throwing stones outward, one day it's the ground under their own feet that shatters. And all I did was return her stone at the right moment.